Hello everybody. I wanted to do a quick video on the 74-year-old handicapped, elderly, obese man who was frail and needed a cane or a walker to walk, who was executed by the FBI in Provo, Utah, a gentleman by the name of Craig Robertson. So I want to bring up my article here on him. Let me see. I feel like my head is a little cut off here. I don't know how to fix that, so oh well, hopefully this works. Um, but this is an article I did. I will put in the video description the execution of Craig Robertson by the cowards at the FBI. This just gets into what happened yesterday. News broke out a Utah man was shot and killed during an FBI raid. The deceased suspect was Craig Robertson. The FBI confirmed the raid was related to an investigation into threats against Joe Biden and others. The shooting occurred at 6:15 a.m. while the agents were attempting to serve a warrant. The FBI said initial media reports make it sound as if there was some type of shootout or something, but the FBI did not make that claim. We still do not know if Robertson was armed when he died or if he brandished a gun, if he shot at agents. We do not know any of that information. What little video that has come out was recorded by neighbors. It shows moments before and after the raid. We see a large SWAT presence at the house, and we hear immediate and loud shouting from agents who appear hostile. We hear more shouting than what appears to be a large flashbang being shot into the house. Now, I have a link here to a video that is I believe over a minute long. This was posted to Fox News, so I have included that link. I'm seeing a 24-second clip being shared on social media, which I will play, but I encourage people to watch this one because it's the longest one I've been able to find so far. But even from that clip, you still don't actually see what really provoked them to shoot him. We do know that, quote, anonymous law enforcement sources have told multiple mainstream publications, including the Associated Press and Fox News, that Robertson was, quote unquote, armed at the time he was shot. Quote, a law enforcement source told Fox News Digital Robertson was holding a weapon. Quote, the FBI takes all shooting incidences involving our agents or task force members seriously, the statement read. So they just say they're taking the incident seriously, and they say incident involving our agents. They don't say agent harmed in the line of duty or anything like that. So that's interesting. In accordance with FBI policy, the shooting incident is under review by the FBI's inspection division. Robertson was armed at the time, according to two law enforcement sources who spoke to the AP on the condition of anonymity. I have yet to see video evidence Robertson was holding a gun at the time he was killed. There have been a lot of people saying that he didn't comply and insinuating that he therefore deserved to die. We need to see the full context of what happened before we can determine whether he was attempting to comply. People think that he got into some kind of shootout with the FBI, although the video does not really seem to indicate that that's what happened. And again, the FBI did not make that claim. They just say he was armed at the time of the shooting. So now getting into the criminal complaint. It's 39 pages. We'll actually just go to it. So we'll go to a thread for that I did breaking that down. But I mean, it just I'll just read some of this. It's 39 pages. I have linked my thread breaking down all the issues. I go over a lot of the posts in that complaint. Namely that most of these, I'm breaking down the issues I see with the complaint. Namely, most of these posts referenced are from almost a year ago. Were these posts cringe? Yes. Did Robertson Fed post? Yes. Do some of the posts appear like somebody that wrote them was mentally unstable? Yes. From my review of his Facebook page, he seems to be leaning heavily into an online tough guy persona. Like many boomer men of his generation, he has a love for firearms and seems to have been involved in that kind of milieu. But if you go back on his page, you can see him making these same types of over the top rants. Like, I mean, for years. This is just appears to be how the guy talks. To be clear, some of the posts can be construed as quote unquote threatening, but any FBI agent worth their salt could have quickly ascertained from monitoring Robertson he posed no real threat. I spoke to a neighbor who described the situation like this, quote, Craig Robertson was an elderly man who lived in our neighborhood and went to our local church. He is almost 80 years old. He is obese at 300 pounds, very frail. He has trouble walking except with a cane or a walker. He was the financial clerk for our church when I worked there. He was a good guy. He loved woodworking, collecting firearms. He was apparently very outspoken online, but I didn't know that until today. Bottom line, anyone who knew him would never consider him a threat. He drove the half block to church because he couldn't walk. He is a disabled son who was adult blind that he was caring for. Now, that description is very obviously at odds with the FBI's breathless portrayal of him as this dangerous, extremist person. We know the FBI conducted physical surveillance of Robertson as they outline in almost comedic newspeak, spending 5 paragraphs to explain a simple drive to church and back home while he was wearing a very apparently scary lapel pin. Like, they go into detail about he wore a tie, like he was going to church. It's just like ridiculous. Okay, so this gets into my thread here talking about this. I have that pulled up. Basically, this didn't have to happen. It's just, this is how many paragraphs they spend going, literally talking. They make it sound like they're on this like crazy stakeout. This is how many paragraphs they spend to basically say, we were physically surveilling this guy, we were monitoring him, and we watched him get out of his house, get into his car, go to church, and then talk to 2 people at church, 2 fellow parishioners, and then I think he gives the dude a lift home, and then he goes home. This is how they detailed that, and they call the people, his fellow parishioners, unknown male 1, unknown male 2, like, oh, maybe this is a conspiracy. It's just so stupid. All that just to say, hey, this 74-year-old handicapped man went to church and came home. That's what happened. But they did apparently they'd been watching him. He'd been under surveillance since March of this year. And they had even shown up at his house to talk to him about his posts, and nothing happened, by the way. He did not try to harm them. He literally told them, come back when you have a warrant. And he said that the post that they were asked him about that they thought was, could be threatening, he told them it was just a dream. Now, if you look at some of these posts, like this one is from September of 2022, and they say that this post, they say, I believe Joe Biden refers to POTUS and Robertson intends to bring about the DEATH to Biden. And this post from a year ago causes them to believe that that's what it means. Like that, how do they know? It just makes no sense. They're trying to say that they can intuit what his intentions are. Now, this post, again, obviously made in bad taste, but it's called he's calling it a eradicator, but they're saying they believe that is an instrument that he intends to use to cause harm to the members of the Democrat Party. But again, look at the date. That's like a year ago. From a year ago, he never actually tried to go out and do anything with this. So to anybody, so if they thought that these posts were real and not simply like hyperbolic, then I mean, how come the reality doesn't match up with it? It's just kind of stupid. And again, these posts, while they seem to be for people who maybe don't know, there's a certain kind of like culture of older guys where they try to talk tough and like they try to sound cool, and they don't understand like how the internet works now. They think that they have freedom of speech and stuff, and like I guess they don't understand how bad things really are. But obviously what I think really did him in is that after the agents came by in March, he made a post about them saying, you know, this, and again, this is it's got smiley face or like laughing emojis, so you might be able to say that post was intended as satire, you know, not meant to be real. But anyways, this is just the level of nonsense that because of these posts, they decided to and go back to 2009, 15 years, March 4th, 2009, where he says, I'm just a pile of grass, because he was wearing this like ghillie suit. And they say because of this post from 2009, 15 years ago, that means this post where he talks about digging out his old ghillie suit and dusting off this, that somehow constitutes that warrants the SWAT style raid that the FBI conducted on him. So they go back 15 years on the old man's Facebook page to find a picture from 2009 to claim that the meme from 2 posts back dated August 6th was somehow real. Because 15 years ago he posted this. Well, he's now 70, obese, and needs a cane to move, so it's just kind of like absurd. I'm sorry, you know, I mean no disrespect, but come on. If you guys had been watching this man, you'd been surveilling him, like you would have known, like his neighbor said, he never did anything. He was caring for his disabled blind son, and the FBI easily could have apprehended him if they really needed to, right? If his posts were that scary that it warranted law enforcement coming back after the first time where he said it was a dream, and they were able to see and monitor him and kind of tell that like this guy can hardly get around, he's not really capable of doing anything. You know, they could have done this in a different way than what this was. I don't believe it warranted this. And we'll just play this. Yeah, okay. So as you can see, there's nothing that you can tell from that video that would justify this guy being executed. It is just like crazy. And this is as I don't know if I said this in the beginning of this video, but I'll say it now. This happened right before they arrested, the FBI did this in Michigan right before they arrested the guys for the Whitmer kidnapping hoax. There was a man who, by the way, has a connection to Ruby Ridge. His name was Eric Mark Matthew Allport, who the FBI executed in a Texas Roadhouse parking lot. I believe it was October 6th of 2020. Now, the Detroit Free Press ended up suing the FBI to get the autopsy report because they were resistant to providing it. After they received it, it indicated that Allport had been shot in the back. He'd been shot several times. They claimed that there was a shootout, but there was never been any video produced. And I find it highly unlikely that there was no footage available in that Texas Roadhouse parking lot, because there's security cameras all over those places. The idea that like there wasn't someone didn't get that picked up, I think is ludicrous. But the FBI conducted an internal affairs review into the shooting, and of course, I think they deemed themselves they cleared themselves of any wrongdoing, but they will not release the internal affairs report to the public. And they need to do so. I actually have a video, and I'll include that. I'll link it if it's still up here. I had to pull a bunch of things before. If it's not on here and it's not linked in the video description, just check my Odyssey. You'll see it there. The title of the video, though, was like 17 questions that the FBI must answer about what happened to Eric Allport. So I encourage you guys to watch that. But this is a very disturbing trend, it seems, of no-knock raids and law enforcement, federal law enforcement also using this as an excuse to basically execute people in cold blood and get away with it. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this story. What do you all make of this, and how do you feel about it? That's it for now. It's a sad story. I wish I had something of better news, but I hope the family, I hope they sue the FBI, and they absolutely should.